이번에 저희가 이제 블록체인에 대해서 또 알아보는 시간인데 제가 또 소중한 분들을 모셨습니다. 라자 자이디님, 스크롤 헤드 오브 그로스 담당으로 있으시고 제가 한번 소개를 하도록 하겠습니다. 네, 자기소개 부탁드리겠습니다.
안녕하세요. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Raza, head of growth at Scroll. Scroll is a layer 2 blockchain. It's a blockchain on Ethereum. Our technology is powered by Zero Knowledge, ZK, and we are focusing on payments and stablecoins. And that's what we're here to talk about today.
네, 그런데 우리 이지민 저자님은 또 나오셨나요?
네, 안녕하세요. 또 인사드리겠습니다. 네, 저는 한국 스크롤 대표로 있고요. 그래서 오늘 이제 라자랑 같이 뭐 통역도 할 겸 질문도 할 겸 나왔습니다.
네, 근데 우선 지금 저희 셋 다 표정이 이렇게 좋지는 않은 게 저번 주에 역대급 코인 하락장이 왔었어요. 그래서 그러고 나서 우리가 다 이제 좀 어느 정도 충격을 회복은 했지만 그래도 상당히 충격적이었던 일이었었는데 그 이유가 무엇인지 또 전문가한테 여쭤볼 필요가 있다 싶거든요. 어떤 이유라 생각하시는지 좀 여쭤보겠습니다.
I think this is the biggest sign that crypto has gone mainstream, and actually this is not the first time we've seen it. So, if people recall, like a few months or like 6-7 months ago, when the Japanese yen took a hit, crypto markets took a hit too. And what does this mean? So it means that crypto is sensitive to what is happening in other markets and in the geopolitical landscape. And so in this case, there are different theories. We don't know exactly yet. Right now, people are saying because of a panic reaction of Trump announcing tariffs to China. Some are arguing that there might have been a liquidity issue on centralized exchanges. But the biggest certainty that we have is that crypto is mainstream and it's responding like other commodities like gold and oil to geopolitical and geomarket actions.
그러면 그 전에도 큰 하락장이 있었잖아요. 그러면 그때는 그 이후에는 어떻게 또 코인 생태계가 변화됐는지 좀 궁금하거든요.
So two parts of this question is what happened like after to the ecosystem and did something impact the meta. The first is what we can say to some certainty and extent is that it was a panic reaction to, let's say, what Trump or the tariff announcement. We can't say for certainty it's just that, but seeing how the recent recovery went, it hasn't fully recovered, but it bounced back pretty quickly. And historically, when there is a market crash, there's always some form of recovery, but not this significant, I would say. If you look at ETH, roughly from 4.4, 4.3, to 3.4, now stabilizing at 4.1. Unfortunately, if you look at the rest of the ecosystem, they don't recover as well as the majors. So if you look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, they tend to recover more radically. Altcoins don't recover as radically because people did lose out on funds. And usually when they make money on majors, it cycles to altcoins. So this now correlation is broken. Now that is a little bit what happened to the rest of the ecosystem. The last point is, I think the interest for stablecoins went up significantly because of the experience in volatility. People do want to see upside, but also stability. So I think that that's where the meta narrative is now changing even more. And we've seen that before, that usually in a crash like this, it changes towards a more stable, sound alternative.
이전에 또 코인 상승장이 있었고 또 하락장이 있었는데 이번 상승장 때 특징이 뭐였었냐면은 스테이블 코인이 굉장히 많이 주목을 받았었어요. 그리고 이제 또 다른 암호화폐들도 또 주목을 많이 받았었는데 이번에 상승장에서 주목받았던 이유는 뭔가요? 예.
So I think another sign of crypto getting mainstream is big actors coming into this space. And you see financial institutions, enterprises, they're coming in crypto. But how? They're not coming in NFTs, they're not coming in meme coins, they're choosing stablecoins. So when you see a big names outside of crypto now saying, we're gonna come into crypto, but through stablecoins, that makes retail and other people excited. And then that creates a lot of attention for stablecoins. That's part one. Part two is that people have experienced so much volatility in cryptocurrency that they're looking for an alternative, but in crypto. And stablecoin is the sweet spot where it allows you to participate in DeFi, other crypto use cases like payments, but not get exposure to volatility, even with major coins like Bitcoin and Ethereum.
그리고 뭐 제가 느꼈을 때도 보면은 또 뭐냐면 또 하나는 이 기술력보다는 이제 뭐 기대감이라던가 이제 소문이라던가 이제 약간 마케팅으로 이렇게 좀 그거 위주로 가격이 흘러간다 이제 이런 우려들도 많이 있잖아요. 그래서 이 문제점에 대해서는 또 어떻게 생각하시는지 궁금하거든요.
Actually, in relation to the previous question, there is a third that, you know, where crypto broke out to the masses. And that is when presidents started launching meme coins. And this is a good example of short-term hype. And so it also is an example where hype doesn't last and it hurts more people. And so to answer this question, it's short-term versus long-term building. In any market, even in the early days of the internet, there were short-term products that would make a lot of money, but they died. And crypto is the next phase of internet. And in this next phase of internet, it's moving even faster. So you see a lot more products that have short-term hype. And why do they exist? Because they create people money, but they create more people losses. The two meme coins, the most important meme coin was the Argentinian meme coin. The president of Argentina launched a meme coin, people lost. Great hype, great marketing. Within a day, everything crashed. But like I said, this is the new age of the internet. And so it's always a question of short-term versus long-term building. And at Scroll, we're building for the long term. And in the long term, the internet has shown successful products where there was real value. And we are building products that are technically robust and have real value. And they will outlast, let's say, the marketing and hype and deliver products that people really use on the long term. And we can double click on that in a minute.
저는 주식 투자자다 보니까 제가 가치 투자자인데 보면은 실적 펀더멘털과 이제 이 주가가 좀 괴리가 나는 경우가 있더라고요. 근데 코인도 마찬가지로 보면은 이 기술력이나 펀더멘털은 좋은데 아직 뭔가 좀 제 가치를 못 받는 코인들도 많은 것 같은데 실제로 그런 코인들이 시장에 많이 있는지 좀 여쭤보고 싶었었어요.
This is a great question. Price is always a lagging indicator, and at the heart is always fundamentals. But as soon as you're exposed to the market, narrative matters too. Also for stock markets. So there are different ways to look at this. Number one is the Warren Buffett method. When Warren Buffett says, I always look at the balance sheet and the operating model, and I look at fundamentals because fundamentals catch up to the lagging indicator. Lagging indicator means that the price that you see is today, but it doesn't capture everything that the company is doing. So Warren Buffett's looking what the company is doing because he believes it will catch up. GameStop is another good example, and where community now comes in. So that's the second angle. So now narrative is always influenced by either institutions or retail. GameStop came with the second one, which is where if you have enough people who believe in the brand, they can elevate the brand value. Now, GameStop was based, arguably, on a sound operating model. The first person believed that it had a sound. The last part is when you come in supply and demand. So this is market. You might not know the business model of Nvidia or Tesla, but because there is so many signals that this is a sound company, a sound investment, and they have a track record. They have been going up or down or up. You've decided to allocate capital. So essentially you're doing copy trading. You're following big market trends. So these are usually the three elements where first there are fundamentals at play, and then there's the Warren Buffett method where it's a lagging indicator. At some point, there will be a time where the price catches up to the actions of the company. Then there's community, which is the two layers of narrative, community and institution. Now to answer your question, yes, not many, but few in crypto are delivering primarily on the first layer. Many are trying to operate on the last two, primarily retail narrative, because they are for the short-term gain. So the companies or the protocols that are focusing on the long term are focusing on the first, the fundamentals, because it's a lagging indicator. It'll catch up, and then you see price going up. And I can give examples. Most are focusing on narrative that, without fundamentals trying to like front run, but at some point it collapses.
You're gonna give the names?
Yeah. So I'll give two examples. One being Scroll, but also like so. If you look at Euler is a very interesting project. They launched, but they got hit by FTX. Their TVL went from 50 to like 30 mil. Then they had a hack, and their TVL went from 30 mil to like a few 100K. They were building for 1.5 years. Now their TVL is at 1.5 billion. And so non-financial advice. They, for 1.5 years, their token was down. People said it's over. Lagging indicator. They did the hard work. Token price call. For us, it's the same. If you look at what have we been doing. So to answer the question also, why is Scroll different? We are building long-term the next value layer of the internet, focusing on products that create value for users. So looking at ETFI Cash, USX, and all of the next gen products like Garden, because these are products that users use on a daily basis and need, and behind it is a sound operating model, and so everyone benefits from this. And so for us, building the long term means building real product means that whatever the price is now, it's a lagging indicator and it will catch up, because it's quite simple. If Tesla doesn't make money, at some point the price share will collapse. If Nvidia doesn't make money, at some point the exact same goes for crypto protocols.
그러면 스크롤은 어떻게 좀 다른지 들어보고 싶습니다.
I think our journey started with building just the best tech. So blockchain promised to be the new value layer of the internet, but honestly, the tech was too early and not ready yet when blockchain got a lot of hype. And so what we did is we remained silent and kept building. So our first phase was we built the best blockchain possible, powered by ZK, which allowed us to be very fast, very cheap, but more importantly, very secure. So that's how we started, first being different. Extending to that right now, what Scroll is trying to do is delivering on that promise of the next value layer of the internet, where we provide access to financial assets you didn't have before, like USX. We make sure that for people who are not used to crypto, they get access to crypto very easy, like Garden, through the Garden Neobank app. Because the question is, if you have this value layer of the internet, how do you interact with it? Like on the internet, good products that have good UI, they take off. People don't interact directly with the internet protocol. They interact with apps. So how is Scroll different? We are not only building the secure value layer of the internet, but also providing users with the best UI to interact with the value layer of the internet, with the best assets to interact with the value layer of the internet. And I think something important to emphasize is, from a brand point of view, is a lot of blockchains will tell you we're revolutionizing, building new civilization. They come with very big words, but what does it actually mean? And for us, we're heads down, very reliant, resilient tech builders that build real products for real people to experience the power of blockchain, which is the real value. That's the biggest difference, I would say, with Scroll and the rest. It's like sound technology, no fancy story, but real products, real assets, real value to users now.
우선은 뭐 저희 KBW 전부터 또 알고 있는 사이였던 건데 친구인데 제가 이랬거든요. 제발 좀 홍보 좀 해라. 아니 기술력 중요한 건 아는데 좀 알려라. 기술력이라도 알려라. 그래도 좀 알아야 사람들이 또 이제 그 기술의 가치가 또 늘어나고 또 활용할 거 아니에요. 네. 그래서 저번에 또 출연했을 때 또 스테이블 코인을 출연했을 때 또 이제 알게 돼서 그 라자는 그러면 스크롤에서 어떤 역할을 하는 거였어요?
Formerly my role is head of growth. So what I lead is BD, marketing. We have an incubation and a product team, governance, ops. The simple thing is to say everything non-engineering. But I will say at Scroll, titles don't matter. Jane is more important than me. We have many team members and everyone has a crucial role. We're not very big. We're like a tight squad.
So you're number 2 or number 1? It is very important. Like, are you number 1?
Yeah, I'm number one. Sure.
제가 이제 스크롤 저도 이제 들어보니까 그 제로 지식 증명이라고 JK라고 이제 부르는데 뛰어나다라고 이제 알고 있는데 이게 좀 또 대중들은 잘 모르니까 쉽게 좀 설명을 해주시죠.
The simple way to say ZK is that I can prove something to you without showing it. So today, if I ask you, if you tell me I have $100 million in the bank, you would have to show me the bank statement, and then I can say, okay, your name and then the amount. With ZK, what you can do is show it to a computer, and then that computer just tells me yes, no. But I don't see it. I don't see your statement. I only see what's called a proof, like a proof that you have $100 million, but I don't see your bank account. I don't see the actual amount or your name. And so that is what ZK is in simple terms. It's proving something is true or not true without showing the data in this case.
How can you trust the computer is correct?
Yes. So the another simple way of showing it is that the computer can show what it takes as information and what it proves. So to give you another example, let's say the computer needs to prove that you are older than 18 and only takes your driver's license. Then what you could do is, so the world can see that in the code, it checks person older than 18, and it checks that it took a driver's license because of the unique ID on a driver's license. And so you go to the computer, you give the computer your driver's license, it checks, yes. Then I come and check it, but how do I know that the computer checked your driver's license? Because I can look at the code and I can see the code, oh, this code does not work unless it has an official Korean driver's license. And so I could test it by giving like a driver's license that is not from Korea, and then it would say, no, it doesn't work. Or I could test it by giving like my passport, and then it wouldn't work. But then if we put a Korean driver's license, it would work. So now I know the code works, and I can rely on the proof that it generates.
이제 어쨌든 이거 한다는 것 자체가 이 원 정보를 서로 보여주는 상태가 아닌 상태에서 증명을 한다는 거잖아요.
네.
이게 지금 주목받는 이유가 뭔지 좀 궁금하거든요.
Many needs. So even though this example is simple, ZK has many use cases, from scaling to privacy. Again, going back to institutions. First reason why ZK is getting popularity is because ZK is a solution for, let's say, to give you an example, a bank could now do transactions but not show the transaction because you wouldn't want someone to know that your wallet has $100 million in it. And so we have a solution for that as well that's powered by ZK called Cloak. The second is, let's say you're a hedge fund and you trade a lot. You don't want to show people how you trade because that's your edge. And so you could use ZK to essentially prove that funds are secure, everything is safe, the yield is real, but you wouldn't show that what you're exactly doing. And then how we use it is for scaling. And so what does it mean scaling? We process transactions very fast and very cheap. But how do you know that this transaction is correct? Because we have a separate network that is continuously proving every single move, every single lowest piece of code that this is correct. So anyone can come in and say, oh, you processed 100,000 transactions. We say yes. Well, how do I know this transaction is correct? Use ZK. And so ZK has gotten popularity because ZK has solved the issues that prohibited mass adoption. Whether it's privacy, whether it's scaling, ZK is the missing piece for blockchain to scale.
프로젝트마다 장점이 있는데 그러면은 이제 스크롤에서는 왜 제로 지식 기술을 핵심으로 삼았는지 궁금합니다.
We focus on making the right choices and building the best tech, even if it's the hardest. ZK was very, very hard, but it was the right choice. So why was it hard? Actually, I come from the banking world, and ZK is applied in 1999, 2010, 2005, but ZK was usable there because you could just have very, very powerful machines using ZK. Blockchain is very difficult to do ZK. So many projects leave it. but it is necessary to protect the user. It's necessary to protect funds on chain. And so for us, we knew we have to use ZK. And you even see it now. Blockchains that don't use ZK, did not use ZK, they're coming back and integrating ZK. Why? Because you cannot scale. You cannot create trust if you don't have the highest degree of security. Blockchain is meant to remove the middleman, but that doesn't mean that you just should trust anyone. Blockchain utilizes math, so we have objective standards. You know, in the olden days, you would have a king, and the king would protect society and would guard the civilians. But the king is subjective. Then came law. Law was objective. It doesn't matter rich or poor, close or far from the king, law applies to everyone. This is the same. The bank, you have to trust, have a relationship. With ZK, it's like the law. The rule applies to everyone, but the tech, very, very difficult, which is why it's at the foundation, because we believe in trust, objective trust, universal trust, and ZK is at the core of it. This is what we call programmable trust and programmable verifiability. So programmable trust means we created the universal standard that everyone has to adhere to, i.e. everyone needs to make sure that money is set safe. Verifiability means anyone can check whether there was anything that was bad or malicious. These are the two principles that we use for ZK.
그리고 또 스테이블 코인 저자였잖아요.
네네.
그리고 또 지금 또 스크롤이고
네.
이 두 개가 만난 게 지금 USX.
네.
이제 스크롤 위에서 발행된 스테이블 코인 USX를 이제 가져갔는데 그게 어떤 구조인지 좀 궁금하거든요. 이게 일반적인 스테이블 코인과는 또 어떤 차이점이 있을지 좀 궁금합니다.
I think roughly USX is different in 4 ways. And ZK is at the heart of it. So we have worked very hard in building the best and most secure chain. And this powers the first feature, which is USX on Scroll will be gasless, which means we won't need to pay gas fees to like move USX around, which is one of the biggest friction points for users. Normal users don't understand gas. Why do I need to pay for a transaction fee? The second is powered by our chain as well, and ZK, which is private. So in crypto, there are many privacy solutions, but they are very extreme privacy solutions, difficult to use. We have practical privacy, which means you can't see my transaction or my balance, I can see yours. But if regulators come in, they would be able to view to see is anything weird happening or bad happening. So these two first are powered by the chain and the hard work that we've done before. So they're an extension of the chain. The next two are focused around core features that we've worked through our ecosystem. Number one is payment. So stablecoins you usually have to choose how to use a stablecoin. We want to make sure we give a complete product. So with ETHFI Cash, USX will be able to use for deposit. So if you want to get yield on it and spend it when you want, you will be able to. You won't have to make a choice. So payment is the third feature. And fourth, we have a dual yield strategy. Not today, when you have a stablecoin, different stablecoins have different underlying strategies, and you can use the stablecoin to deploy to a specific strategy. With us, you wouldn't have to do that. This strategy has a market neutral strategy off-chain, delivering approximately 12%. And in phase 2, it will have like an automated DeFi strategy. So what we aim to do with these 4 features is look at, okay, what does a stablecoin need? What is like a good stablecoin? And these are the 4 core features that we essentially established. The last one is not a feature, it's more of how the stablecoin uses ZK. So this stablecoin will use ZK for something called ZK attestations. Stablecoins under the hood have capital. They have your capital. And you want to know what happened with the capital. Where is it? Is it safe? And we will have ZK attestations that essentially prove the solvency is fine, the peg is fine, the strategies are fine, so that you can't see exactly necessarily what the abstracted strategy is because we need to protect all some of these. But you can prove the ZK proof, trust the ZK proof that everything is okay. And so these are the core features of how this stablecoin makes difference. That's why it's called the Neo Dollar powered by ZK.
그러면은 그냥 이렇게 해서 이제 카드를 만들면은 저는 실생활에서 그냥 이거 결제를 하면은 이게 스테이블 코인으로 결제가 된다는 거 아니에요?
네, 맞습니다.
그러면 이제 스테이블 코인이 이제 테더도 있고 이제 USDC도 있고 이렇게 있는데 그러면은 지금 만든 USX는 이제 앞으로 어디에 많이 쓰일 것 같다 생각하세요?
Yeah, I think it's approaching it from what can a stablecoin do and making sure that we leave the choice up to users. The first generation of stablecoins were just used as a stability alternative and for payment. I.e., if you wanted funds on chain, but you don't want price fluctuation, you'd have a stablecoin, and then you could use it in DeFi to trade, to borrow, to swap, and for payments. The next gen, but under the hood, these stablecoins were making money with your money, and they were keeping the money. So then the next gen was essentially stablecoins that were sharing a part of these yield proceeds back to the users, but they all have slightly different mechanisms. Most of them unsustainable. So they have high yield at the start, and then the yield goes down as more people come in. And then different stablecoins come with different use cases, focused on privacy, only focused on payment. This stablecoin is meant to be however the user wants to do it. You just want yield, you can stake it, it gets yield, done. You want to use it for payment, we provide you the payment rails directly. You can use it today with a credit card, spendable. You wanted to use it in DeFi, but in a private manner, you'll be able to do it. As a matter of fact, this stablecoin will be available on other chains too. But we can only give certain features on Scroll because it gets powered by our chain, like gasless and like privacy. But at the heart, this stablecoin is meant, the simple answer is it's meant to do it all, depending on your choice.
그러면 이제 이 스테이블 코인을 가지고 그 다음에 또 사업들을 구상하고 있는 거 아니에요? 그 중에 하나가 그럼 네오뱅크가 아닌가 좀 생각이 되는데 기존에 또 핀테크도 있고 금융 앱들이 있는데 이거 어떤 차별점이 있는지도 좀 궁금하거든요.
I think two main things. First is that this app is built on blockchain, which is the new value layer of the internet. So it's the upgraded version of internet. And that is obviously a core piece. Now you can do peer-to-peer transaction, you don't need a bank, you can hold these assets, all these benefits we've spoken of until now, whether it's USX or whether it's other use cases. But remember I said before is that we interact with the internet through an app. With a blockchain, it should be the same, but this has been the biggest hurdle for blockchains. In the whole crypto world, people are still opening their laptop or they're using their phone. Not to think about all the hacks and the security issues. It's because the honest truth is the best app hasn't been built yet, and we believe we can do it. So what does that mean? The first, it's powered by blockchain, but the best blockchain. Secure, performant, delivering these valuable assets like USX. The second is, can we provide the best onboarding experience? And so what does that mean? Upon launch, we will have something called virtual bank account. Not for every jurisdiction, we're gonna start slowly rolling that out. But for instance, I'm from Europe, and in Europe, our bank accounts are called IBAN. This app will have an IBAN number, but the IBAN will be attached to a wallet address. It's because you have to build the app that is tied to the user behavior the users are used to. So if you're used to your banking app, your fintech app should look the same. Under the hood is just powered by blockchain. And so that's the philosophy of this app. It will be frictionless, seamless user experience, and then the next phase will give exposure to something like USX, which is the best neo dollar. We will have tokenized assets like tokenized gold. We will have FX protocol on chain, so virtual finance. So if you want digital yen, if you want digital RMB, if you want digital currencies, you'll get that in this app. And if you want to use DeFi in a safe, secure, and easy way, you will be able to use this app. So that's how this app will be different from traditional fintech.
도로를 깔고 전기와 수도를 설치하면 이제 거기서 이제 가게들이 생기고 도시가 생기고 하는 인프라를 설치하는 게 지금 스테이블 코인이 이제 이 인프라를 설치하는 일이었던 거고 그 인프라 위에서 이제 뭐 네오뱅크라던가 이제 가든 앱 이런 것들이 이제 들어온다는 거잖아요.
네네.
그러면 가든 앱은 어떤 건가요? 좀 소개를 해주시죠.
So I'm gonna take a step back, but it's very. I usually give this analogy. If you take the city analogy, then blockchains are essentially the electricity grid and the clean water. And then what we do is that we created a zero tax system. So if you live in the city, you don't pay tax, no gas fees. These buildings are essentially the different apps. Some of these buildings we own, like Garden. Some our founders are building, like EtherFi Cash. And then the users that will come in will use these buildings, will use these apps. So Garden is like almost like your passport that makes it easy for you to come in and out and use everything, like whether it's building or stores or app, whatever you want to do. So it's kind of like your gateway. Garden is like our WeChat. So it's plugged into all these services, but we have the infra, we have external services like founders that are building, and we have our own services in the app too.
그러면 가든 앱이 그러면 우리가 알고 있는 뭐랑 가장 유사한 거예요? 안드로이드 개념이라고 해야 될까?
Oh, good question. So it's probably going to be the better analogy is that it's a combination because it has core services such as payment and the assets and the interaction, but we will actually have a mini app store in it because some of the founders in our ecosystem, they're building on top of our infrastructure, but it's a different app. So if you go to the mini app store and you go into it, you'll be able to click on it and then use their app inside of our app. So it's a mix of the two. Because Google Play Store, you have to download before you can use it. And WeChat only has set services. With us, it's both. You have a set services and you're able to download apps within the app.
단순히 저는 스테이블 코인 저자라서 저는 스테이블 코인만 하시나 보다 했는데 이게 아니네요. 이게 시작이었던 거네요. 그러니까 지금 그 다음에 이제 네오뱅크랑 가든앱 이렇게 등장하게 되면은 앞으로 스테이블 코인이 기존의 이제 레거시 뱅크 은행과 이제 한판 붙는 상황이 올 것 같은데 그렇게 예상하시는지 좀 궁금하거든요.
Yeah, so I come from the TradFi world, and honestly, traditionally speaking, TradFi doesn't or rarely incubates or build their own apps like this because they were already disconnected very, very significantly in the Web2 world. So I was part of a bank and an insurance company. We've tried to build internally services, but we ran on very old systems, so it was always very difficult. So what is the route of that world? It's usually acquisition. So they will acquire or acquire an app, but even then they always have inherent limitations. Why? We would acquire a team that builds like a neobank app for Gen Z. They would be part of like our company, but they would still be an entire different brand and label because there's no way the cultures could like mix. The systems were not compatible, and so it was still like a different company. So instead, what happened is they built services to plug into their traditional infra, and I think that's going to happen. DeFi and TradFi, crypto and fintech or banking world, it will merge, and there will be like a new industry or layer in the middle that will function to communicate between the two. And you're already seeing it with Stripe acquiring or building Bridge.xyz and other types of protocols. What they're doing is they're communicating between the old and new world. They're not replacing the new world with the old world. The old world is not like, eating it up, but they're communicating between the two. Because if you think about it, so what Trump did with the Genius Act is he expanded the world and essentially said stablecoins, not only you are allowed to exist, you're part of the current financial system. It didn't go the other way, where it says the financial system, becomes a part of the stablecoin ecosystem. Now there's a big difference here because stablecoins are now allowed to participate in the banking world, but it didn't eliminate Circle, it didn't eliminate Tether, it didn't eliminate the DeFi world. Now bad regulation can do that, Mika did that, but it didn't. So to answer your question, the TLDR, I think will merge. Regulation will allow the two worlds to communicate, and good regulation will allow the new world to keep growing while the old world benefits.
그러면 지금 어쨌든 우리 지금 가지고 있는 최종 목표가 뭔지 좀 궁금하거든요.
I think the ultimate goal for Scroll is allowing the world to participate in the new value layer of the internet. Blockchain has been around for quite a few years, and it's moving much faster than the internet was. So if you look at how long internet was before internet like reached masses, it took like a long time. We believe we are at the forefront of that, of delivering the value layer of internet to people. So payment on chain, crypto on chain, democratizing access to return on investment and assets. Our personal goal and vision is that by doing this, we're building a new economy.
Does that mean are we gonna keep building the services or?
Yes.
Yeah.
We're gonna keep building services. We're gonna keep building assets. So to give you a sneak peek, we're gonna bring gold on chain, but real gold. So it's not going to be, up until now, tokenized gold was just like buying gold on paper, was not real gold. We're gonna have like real gold in custodial service. So if you buy it, there's real gold off chain. We have on country level, and I cannot mention yet which country, but on country level where ZK can be used for a lot more. It can be used for voting, for ID, for attestations. For the supply chain, if you look at real world assets, it's like, how do you know that this coffee bean, there was no farmers oppressed or maliciously treated? We have a coffee-backed stablecoin coming. So if you want to invest in coffee and drink a lot of coffee, but you want the stablecoin, we will have that. And then side by side, we're also investing in our founder ecosystem. So we are not only building services and products, we are also partnering and building together with founders who are building the same or the similar products and services. And we're here for the next 20, 30 years. We're only just getting started. We're actually a very young company. We launched mainnet in end of 2023. For a lot of people, it seems like a very long time. But even like our token, we launched like end of last year. But it's a lagging indicator. We only just got started. This Q4 is the effort of the entire 2025. And from this quarter onwards, every quarter we are going to launch services and products. Every quarter.
Oh, that's a lot of work for me.
론칭한 지 그러면은 지금 이제 3년 차인 거네요.
So Scroll started in 2021. Yeah, building the chain took like a lot of time. The ZK engine took a lot of time. And then we launched the testnet in 2022 and again in 2022 and then at the start of 23.
이제 이렇게 빠르게 또 이제 프로젝트를 추진하다 보면은 뭔가 지금 부족하다, 난 지금 이게 필요하다라는 게 또 있을 수 있잖아요. 지금 어떤 게 가장 많이 필요한가요? 뭐 예를 들어 자본일 수도 있고 사람일 수도 있고 뭐 제도일 수도 있고 여러 가지도 있겠죠.
So let me start with the last, I think 4 points here. Like regulation will speed up. It will also increase competition, but mainly I think it will speed up and make our jobs, our lives easier. I think it has already made our lives easier. I think that in terms of capital, the main thing we're focusing on is building products that will deliver real value. And let me be more specific. We want to build things people want to use. So when I talk about tokenized gold, people get really excited because they're like, oh, I like people in like in certain countries, like on the African continent or Latam, don't have access as easy to buy like or get access to this gold. But also in the West, they're like, hey, what do you mean I can get access to discounted gold? So they're like, this is something that people want. And so we're gonna focus on building things people want, and then inherently we will come into a limitation of scaling, whether that is internal resources or external. But definitely one of the things that I would say, maybe reflecting what Scroll needs to do better, is marketing. I think many people don't know, often when we build like these great products or we build the best tech, and so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get out there so people understand 2 years, mainnet never went down. Every quarter or every 6 months we had an upgrade. The chain has become hyper performant, one of the best, if not the best ZK chain. We have, real products like payment products on Scroll, like ETFI Cash. Now this asset, the stablecoin asset. And I think people often get surprised when I tell them what has already been built and what is coming, and how advanced our tech is. Mm-hmm. This is important because when you were asking me about the stock price, I said that the fundamentals are important, which we're doing right now. We will have a staking mechanism for SCR, where everything that we're doing and what's making money, we're going to redistribute to the SCR stakers. But the second is also important. People need to believe that, why Scroll? Because this is the best tech. Like, why Apple? Apple is the best tech, the greatest phone. Okay, Why Scroll? Because it's the best tech, the best services, the best assets. And so that's what we're doing right now, which is why you do need to like talk about it. And so I think in marketing is where we're focusing as well.
그러면 마케팅을 좀 도와드리기 위해서 그 한마디만 좀 따라해 주시면 좋을 것 같아요. 이렇게 포즈해서 나요 라자.
나요 라자.
라자.
나요 라자.
그럼 지금 만든 서비스들이 국내 한국에서도 쓸 수 있는 건가요?
Yes, that's the goal. I think I always say Seoul is my favorite city in the world, so I love coming here. But the goal is to bring it everywhere. But for sure, like I mean, we have Jane on the ground as well for a very specific reason, and we believe that this is a market we're heavily focused on. Yeah.
저 오늘 이제 특정 코인 하나를 가지고 이렇게 1시간 넘게 대화를 길게 본 건 처음이거든요. 주식시장에서 스타트업이랑 되게 많이 닮았다. 정말 스타트업 보면은 잘하는 것도 있고 아직 부족한 것도 있고 나가야 될 것도 많고 하지만 여러분들이 많이 또 들어주시면서 이런 생태계를 가지고 있구나 하나씩 이해를 하면은 구독자 여러분들한테도 많은 도움이 될 것 같아서 제가 또 한번 이렇게 좀 초청을 드렸었습니다. 앞으로도 많은 활동 부탁드리고 그러면 그 어플들이 언제 나오는 건가요? 스테이블 코인도 그렇고
Pre-deposits are open now, but the protocol will go live first week of November. And the Garden app together with it. Yeah.
그럼 제가 더보기에다 소개를 한번 더 놓도록 할 테니까 많은 참고 부탁드리도록 하겠습니다. 여러분들 도움이 됐을 것 같습니다. 앞으로도 많은 또 프로젝트들 제가 또 초청해서 여러분들한테 알려드릴 수 있는 시간을 만들어 보도록 하겠습니다. 제가 영어를 또 잘 못하지만 또 이렇게 영어 잘하시는 분들이 계셔가지고 덕분에 구독자 여러분들이 쉽게 이해할 수 있을 것 같아서 너무 도움이 됐습니다. 오늘 또 통역을 해주셔서 너무 감사합니다.
감사합니다.
예, 그리고 라자 오늘 나요 라자 해줘서 너무 감사합니다.
나요 라자.
앞으로도 응원하도록 하겠습니다. 화이팅.
감사합니다.
네, 감사합니다.